Welcome to Crossover Commander, where we show you how to cross over your favorite pop culture characters through the blind eternities so they can command your deck with style. If you really enjoy what you see here today and would like to see this channel grow, check us out on TikTok and Patreon. The links will be in the description section down below. It looks like this portal is stabilizing, so let's get on with this show. This is the Belchers. We've got the family man Bob, his wife Linda, and his three kids, Tina, Jean, and Louise. Now, here's where I'd tell you some stuff about them, but to be fair, we've all seen the show. So instead, I'll tell you a weird fact. Back in 2011, a bunch of the Fat Burgers turned into a Bob's Burgers for a day for a promotion. The more you know. So you may be asking yourself, seriously crossover, Bob as a commander deck? But I got you. See, when I look at Bob, he reminds me of a very specific magic card. So let's first go over a little bit of who Bob is. He's a burger man. Means he likes to feed people, likes to make that good food. He's a family man, so he likes to take care of his own. But he's not a people person. Kind of a recluse, Doesn't get along too well with the general populace. I think that leads us to a very specific place. I'd like to present Bob Belcher, the magic card. Of course, it's Guillaume, the Master Chef. Did you think it'd be anybody else? So, a couple of things. They're the best chefs in town. Guillaume, everybody comes to him on Strixhaven. He's known as the best chef on all the campuses. And Bob, he's known as the best chef on Ocean Avenue because Jimmy Pesto's a punk. Now, as far as the mechanics of the card go, they fit together pretty well, too. So Guillaume is all about making food for every non-token creature that comes onto the battlefield during your turn, and then he sacrifices the food token to keep your party safe. Bob kind of does the same thing. He feeds everybody, but he'll sacrifice his food to make sure his family's alright. And he's a troll, because of course Bob is. Now Bob, he may be the titular character of the show, but he is nothing without his family. And to that extent, I'd like to spotlight his family in this deck. We've got the gluttonous troll as Jean. We've got Verls, the scar-striped, as Louise. We've got Griswold, the dread sower, as Linda. And, the guardian augmenter is Tina. Moving on. Back to Jean. So, Jean enters the battlefield, creates a number of food tokens equal to the number of opponents you have, and he can sacrifice other non-land permanents to get stronger. Basically, he eats anything, gets big, and tacos. It says it all. And then Verl's the Scar Stripe for Louise. She'll scavenge through the graveyard, use what she can, and will trip anybody to make sure she gets out scot-free. And then Griswold the Dread Sower for Linda. She's always worried about everything else. All them little token creatures, all the raccoons, all the plants. She's just Linda. Don't hurt any of the tokens, though. She'll get real mad. And then, Tina's just kind of there. She shows up. Gives Bob hexproof. Stuff like that, So before we talk about the cards in the deck, let's first go over the strategy in Rule 0. This deck dirtles. It tries to saw out the board until it adds up the rent, so to speak. It will fit comfortably at casual tables. And to claim victory with this deck, once you have the rent, you can slap Mr. Fish Odor with a spicy new burger combo. Now that we've introduced Bob and the rest of the Belchers and we've gone over the strategy and win condition for the deck, this is the perfect time to remind you this is a crossover theme to build. With that being said, crucial cards for the theme will be added regardless of price. Cards that are not essential to fit the theme will be made as budget friendly as possible. So Ocean Avenue's a little greasy grimy. That's why Golgari fits them perfect. We've got the Hissing Quagmire. It's one of the man lands from back in Zendikar. It comes in tapped, but it taps for green or black. Then we got the Witherbloom Campus, because Bob's a college man after all. He likes to go feed those college kids. Also taps for green or black. Then we got the Dark Moss Bridge. It is indestructible, which will come into play later, but taps for black or green. The Necroblossom Snarl and the Deathcap Glade. They both have the option to come in untapped, which is great. And then as far as the command tower goes, everybody knows what command tower does. Taps for anything in your commander's color identity. Then we got both Myriad Landscape and Blighted Woodlands. Some ramp on a land, gets you 2 lands for the price of 1 and some mana. Pretty good deal. And then we got the Gingerbread Cabin. It creates a food token if it comes into play untapped, which we'll try and make it. So Bob only trusts local produce for his restaurant. To that end, let's look at some of the ramp in this deck. We've got 3 visits. You search your library for a forest card, put that card on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Rampant Growth does the same, but for a basic land. And then we've got Kodama's Reach and Cultivate. Both get you 2 basic lands. You reveal them, put 1 onto the battlefield and 1 into the hand. Then we've got Growth Spasm, gets you a land to the battlefield, and then an Eldrazi spawn creature token that you can sacrifice for mana. Then we've got Inspiring Statuary, that allows you to tap any artifact for 1 generic mana of a casting cost. And then we've got Soul Ring, taps for 2, and then Treasure Map, because those Belcher kids are always looking for treasure. Secret is it's always in the butt. Unlike other deck techs where you're focusing on 1 commander, this deck is kind of focusing on 5. Not that they're commanders in the technical sense, but thematically, they're the main characters. So to that end, each of them are going to have a section of cards that kind of go with them and highlight different attributes. So first off, we look at Bob. So first, we have Giant's Opportunity. For 2 and a green, you may sacrifice 2 food tokens. If you do, create a 7/7 green giant creature token. Otherwise, create 3 food tokens. Most of the time, we'll be using this for the food. Every once in a while, the giant will come into handy, though. Then we've got Giant Skewer for 1 and a black. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a creature, create a food token, and its equip cost is 3. It's one of Bob's cooking tools. Then we got the Underworld Cookbook. It helps create some food. You can sacrifice it to recur a creature out of the graveyard. It's helpful if Bob forgets a recipe. And then we got the Academy Manufacturers working kind of as Bob's grill. If you would create a clue, food, or treasure token, instead create 1 of each. Then we got the Golden Egg. It's a food, and when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. You can sacrifice it for mana, or you can pay into it and sacrifice it for life. I mean, Bob's always talking to Teddy about fresh eggs, after all. And then, since we can't get cows on the green side of things, or even the black side of things in Magic, believe it or not, cows are only in white as a creature type. We've got boars. We've got Endray's Forerunner and Nessian Boar. They're here for thematic reasons to be the food. However, they work if we got a big board stake to kind of help end the game. The Andrae's Forerunners has Vigilance, Trample, and Haste, and when it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get +2/+2, gain Vigilance and Trample until the end of turn. And then the Nessian Boar, all creatures able to block it, do so, and whenever Nessian Boar becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller draws a card. So, you can kind of use this in conjunction with Bob to do a small board wipe. You can make it indestructible and then kill whatever blocks it. Yeah, they'll draw cards, but that's okay. Bob's never been concerned if other people got advantage off of them after all. Then we got the Gilded Goose. It's for one green. It's got flying, and when the Gilded Goose enters the battlefield, create a food token. And you can 1 and a green and tap it to create another food token, or you can sacrifice a food and add 1 mana of any color. And then we've got the Feasting Troll King, which has got to be Teddy. He's for 2 and 4 green, Vigilance, Trample. When Feasting Troll King enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, create 3 food tokens. And then you can sack 3 food tokens, return Feasting Troll King from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate this ability only during your turn. He's a 7/6. Big boy. And Teddy's always sticking around, whether Bob wants him to or not. And then we've got Linda's section. She's worried about tokens. So to that end, we've got Deadly Dispute for 1 and a black as an additional cost to cast this spell. Sacrifice an artifact or a creature. You draw 2 cards and create a treasure token. This is to represent that Linda doesn't take any crap. She gets in the business and makes sure nobody takes advantage of the restaurant. Then we've got Ogre Slumlord. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may create a 1/1 black rat creature token, and rats you control have Death Touch. This is for the raccoons. Gale loves her raccoons, and it's kind of a misfit card in this deck, and that fits Gale pretty perfectly too. And then we've got the Old Growth Troll. For 3 green mana, it's got Trample, and when it dies, it comes back as a forest enchantment to give you extra mana, and then you can sacrifice the land and bring back the creature. And then the Clackbridge Troll for 3 and 2 black. It's Trample and Haste. When Clackbridge Troll enters the battlefield, target opponent creates 3/0/1 white goat creature tokens. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If a player does, tap Clackbridge Troll, gain 3 life, and draw a card. These are Linda's parents. Fits perfectly. They're old and ugly trolls. Then we've got Second Harvest. It says for 2 and 2 green, for each token you control, create a token that's a copy of that permanent. And then Dowsing Dagger. When Dowsing Dagger enters the battlefield, target opponent creates 2/0/2 green plant creature tokens with Defender. Each creature gets, or a equipped creature gets +2/+1. And whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may transform the Dowsing Dagger into a former ramp, because she's always concerned about the business too. Then we got Orchard Strider. When Orchard Strider enters the battlefield, create 2 food tokens for 4 and 2 green. Just symbolize Linda trying to get food for the restaurant too. And then Nadir's Nightblade. That's going to be Gretchen. Whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain a life. She's always in there with them witty comments. And then we have Tina's section. Nice middle of the road, Tina. So we've got the obligatory butt joke and Crack Open. 2 and 1 green, destroy target artifact or enchantment, create a treasure token. Then for Jimmy Jr. and Zeke, we've got Hunted Troll and Thrun the Last Troll. When Hunted Troll enters the battlefield, target opponent puts 4 1/1 blue fairy creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield. And then you can regenerate it for 1 green. It costs 2 and 2 green to get out. And then same for Thrun the Last Troll, 2 and 2 green. But he cannot be countered, and he can't be the target of spells or abilities. And then for 1 and a green, you can regenerate him. And then we've got the Wonder Wolf in the Fierce Witch Stalker. You trample, and then when it enters the battlefield, create a food token. Then we've got Savvy Hunter, which whenever Savvy Hunter attacks or blocks, create a food token, and then you can sacrifice 2 foods to draw a card. And then Briar Bridge Patrol, whenever Briar Bridge Patrol deals damage to 1 or more creature, investigate at the beginning of each end step. If you sacrifice 3 or more clues this turn, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. And then we've got Disciple of the Vault. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may have target opponent lose 1 life. Now these cards, they're all supposed to represent different boys that she's had a crush on. And then Rampage the Clans. What can I say? This is Tina's ultimate fantasy. It says, for 3 and a green, instant, destroy all artifacts and enchantments. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller creates a 3/3 green centaur creature token. So this is going to flood the board on all sides with tons of horse people, and that's just so Tina. It also will work into our advantage pretty well, because most decks won't have as many artifacts as this one will have on the board, or enchantments for that matter. So we'll be able to get a huge board presence. So for Gene's section, he's worried about eating everything and not caring if it makes a mess. And with that, we've got Fey Offering. It's an enchantment for 2 and a green at the beginning of each end step. If you've cast both a creature spell and a non-creature spell this turn, create a clue token, a food token, and a treasure token. And then we've got Trail of Crumbs for 1 and a green. When Trail of Crumbs enters the battlefield, create a food token. Whenever you sack a food, you may pay 1. If you do, look at the top 2 cards of your library. You may reveal a permanent card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of the library in any order. So this is basically just Gene rummaging for food. Sometimes he'll leave stuff behind. Then we've got Wolf's Quarry. For 4 and 2 green, create 3 1/1 green boar creature tokens. With when this creature dies, create a food token. We've got Bacon to a Pie, destroy target creature, create a food token, that's for 2 and 2 black. Then we've got Foreboding Fruit for 2 and a black, target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life, and if you've spent 3 black mana to cast this, you create a food token. Then we've got Tireless Provisioners. This is going to kind of act as Alex for the deck, Gene's best friend. It has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a food token or a treasure token. He's a good friend because he keeps Gene his walking cookies. Then we've got Fell the Pheasant. Fell the Pheasant deals 5 damage to target creature with flying and creates a food token. And then Pest Infestation. This is just Gene, being messy, messy, messy. For XX and a green, destroy up to X target artifacts and or enchantments, create twice X 1/1 black and green pest creature tokens with when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. Sometimes being messy pays off. And now we're to Louise. Louise is the crafty one. She's the one that's got the answers for everything. And she's also the one that's concerned about winning. So with that, we've got Revel in Riches for 4 and a black. It's an enchantment. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token. And you can sacrifice that for mana. But at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasure tokens, you win the game. And Louise has got go bags packed everywhere, so you may be able to win with this one. Then we've got Andy and Ollie and the Curious Pair. Always following Louise around. They're a 1/3 human for 1 and a green, but you can also use their adventure cost to get a food token. Then we've got the Hungry Lynx to represent the cat that Louise was trying to catch that one episode. For 1 and a green, cats you control have protection from rats, and at the beginning of your end step, target opponent creates a 1/1 black rat creature token with Death Touch. And whenever a rat dies, put a 1/1 counter on each cat you control. And then Treasured Find. For 1 black and 1 green, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Exile treasured find. This is to represent her Kuchikopi Nightlight. And then we've got Grim Bounty. For 2 and 2 black, destroy target creature or planeswalker, create a treasure token. This is for when Logan's really picking on her. And then Abrupt Decay for 1 black and 1 green. This spell can't be countered. Destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. Then we've got Putrefy for 1 black and a green. Destroy target artifact or creature. Can't be regenerated. And then we've got Root Out. Destroy target artifact or enchantment and investigate. And then Tempting Contract. For 4 generic, at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent may create a treasure token. For each opponent who does, you create a treasure token. This mixed with Revel and Riches, make sure those go bags are good to win. Now that we've looked at the restaurant, Bob, and the rest of the Belchers, it's time to come to the end of the workday. We've got Reprocess for 2 and 2 black. It's an older card. It says sacrifice any number of artifacts, creatures, and or lands. Draw a card for each permanent sacrifice this way. This is going to be the best draw spell in our deck. It's going to allow us to refill our hand if we've got a board full of artifacts, food tokens, that type of stuff. Then we've got Witherbloom Apprentice and Sedgemoor Witch, both of which are here for the Magecraft ability. The Magecraft ability says whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, you get a bonus. In the case of Witherbloom Apprentice, that comes in the form of each opponent losing 1 life and you gaining a life. And in Sedgemoor Witch's case, it gives you a 1/1 black and green pest creature token. Now, these combo with the Chain of Acid and an indestructible non-creature permanent, which we have 2 of, the Dark Moss Bridge and the Darksteel Ingot. So the Chain of Acid says, destroy target non-creature permanent, then that permanent's controller may copy this spell and may choose a new target for that copy. So what you're going to do is just copy the spell over and over and over again, and trigger those Magecrafts over and over again. Then we've got Taste of Death. It's going to sacrifice 3 creatures on each player's board and create you 3 food tokens for the cost of 4 and 2 black. Then we've got Clock of Omens. For 4 generic, it says tap 2 untapped artifacts you control. Untap a target artifact. Because when it's rush hour, that oven's got to be cranking. And that's the Witch's Oven that I'm talking about. For 1 generic, you can sacrifice a creature, create a food token. If the sacrificed creature's toughness was 4 or greater, create 2 food tokens instead. So how this is going to combo is with the Cauldron Familiar. When Cauldron Familiar enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain a life. Sacrifice a food, return the Cauldron Familiar from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, you're going to sacrifice it with the Witch's Oven to get a food token. Then you're going to untap the Witch's Oven with your extra artifacts and do it again. To help you get extra artifacts, you've got things like Ovenwald Mysteries. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, investigate. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So at first, you got to have a little bit of setup for this combo. You got to have kind of a large amount of artifacts on the board so that you can begin to break parity with the sacrificing of the food token to bring the Cauldron Familiar back. Now that we've checked out Bob's Burgers and the rest of the Belcher family, we can discuss the price. So the average price of this deck at time of release is between $85 and $138, depending on where you purchase it from. As always, it could be a little bit cheaper if you don't mind playing with used or damaged cards. Then move on to the stats. We've got 15 ramp, which is pretty good. Means we're going to be able to play our spells and get multiple casts per turn. Then for tutors, we've got 0. And that is specifically because Bob is not a guy with a plan. He just flies by the seat of his pants. If he finds what he's looking for, great. Then we've got 7 card draw spells. Again, he's not somebody who looks ahead to the future necessarily, so he's going to get it where he can, but past that, doesn't really matter. And then we've got 12 interaction spells, because Louise is on it. She will deal very handily with any threats that come through. Board wipes, between Gene and Bob, they're far too messy to be cleaning anything up. And then we've got 35 land cards. Remember, this is a crossover theme to build. With that being said, crucial cards for the theme were added regardless of price. Cards that were not essential to fit the theme were made as budget-friendly as possible. If you want to optimize this list, feel free to leave your upgrades in the comments section below. Most importantly, this deck is meant to be a new and engaging way to spice up your Commander games, so fun is the top priority. Thank you for watching this crossover deck tech. If you liked this video, check out our other content on YouTube or TikTok. Your viewership means the multiverse to the crossover commander, and if you would like to become a part of this growing Terran reality, you can like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to vote on the next pop culture character to crossover, check out our Patreon where we have some awesome perks. If you have any ideas or complaints, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Now that this portal's closing, see you next time.